So we are going to start with this. And this is a double-sided paper from Bo Bunny, Bo Bunny's Back to Backs. And the name of it is, I have totally forgotten what the name of it is. And I cut them all off. It's on the other side. And so I will show you. The first thing I did, I think I ordered 8 of these sheets of paper. And so you'll want to find something if you want to make this wreath or a similar wreath. You'll want to find a paper. It does not have to be double-sided. This one just happened to be. And it was on clearance, so I got it for really cheap. But you want a wreath shape that has lots of different components. Well, lots of components. You might find a magnolia wreath that is just magnolia leaves, but it's different layers of magnolia leaves. And that's what you need, I should say, is layers. You need layers of components. This is called the Joyful Christmas Wreath. And this will be the back. I will cut off the branding strip here, but this is what I'm starting with. And I spent 3 different evenings while watching TV fussy cutting. And the first thing that I fussy cut was this wreath. And this is always the part I have to find the bird so I know I'm right side up. And this is just going to layer on top of that. But right now it doesn't really look like much because it just looks like it started, like it began. And I also at first thought about cutting out the inside of this, but then I wasn't so sure about it and I just decided to leave it there. It's not going to be the bottom layer, but the next to the bottom, and I think it'll work out fine. Next, let's see. I cut out what I saw as the next layer, and I cut off these so I keep track of how many sheets I used. And I used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sheets of this. Yours will depend on how many layers you see in your particular design. The next layer that I cut out, and I have them over to the side stacked so that I can find them easily, except for I think I did. I'm going to turn my paper over here because I think I turned it the wrong way and now I'm having to hunt. So this will end up stacking on top of that part, giving it another layer. And this one will stack on here. Nope, on here. I still did something wrong. Oh well, it's okay. We'll figure it out. And this one will go here. And we're just going to keep doing that and building up the layers. And I am also going to go through and ink the edges. And what goes well with this particular paper out of my inks that I have, our antique linen matches the poinsettias very well. The faded jeans I feel like matches the background. And there are some areas, especially where I fussy cut the original wreath, that I left a kiss cut around a lot of it. Matter of fact, I think on that first layer I did a lot of kiss cut. And then I have pine needles for the pine needles, and festive berries turned out to be a really good match for the roses. So I am going to go through and I am going to ink everything. And then when all of that is done, I'll come back and we'll get started assembling. And I am ready to start assembling for the most part. And I already inked around the edges of this particular part too, because it will be showing in the final product. Almost nothing else will be showing. Pretty much nothing else will be showing. This is the base. The next thing that I need is I need glue, and I need some foam tape or pop dots or whatever, because I want this to be dimensional, and I want it to be very dimensional. So I don't want to use like tape runner or flat tape or just glue. So here's my bag of foam tapes and such, and I think I am going to use let's see, do I have one of those that's open? I do not. I really like this though. It is super glue foam mounting tape, and it's pre-cut on a roll, and I've made other projects with it, and I really like it. And I need to keep that package because when I put it back in the bag, sometimes it likes to grab things, and I don't like for it to grab things that I don't want it to grab. Not even sure that came out right, but you know. And here is our first layer, and I am not going to really do anything on this layer, so I am just going to go ahead and put on my dots. Or it's not dots, but you know. Put it all around the edges, because the edges are where all of my other layers are going to be, so I want to make sure that it's nice and supported. I don't have to put as many in the center, although I will put some. All right, so there's the first layer of foam tape. I'm going to go through, peel all the backings off, and I'm going to use my pokey tool because that makes it work really, really well. Doesn't make it work really well, makes getting it off work very easily. How much, I can't even get my words. It's much easier to peel the backings off. How about that? All right, now I have a couple of small little things that stick out. And matter of fact, I've already started to tear one. So I have these little tiny squares. These are just Dollar Tree. And I am going to make sure that I have those supported as well. And even these tiny little squares are just a little too wide. So I am going to cut them thinner. Should have done this before I peeled off all the other pieces, because now the other pieces are sticking to me. I'm gonna end up tearing up the thing I'm trying to fix. Let's see, I think that may be still too wide for that, so I'll have to cut that a little thinner as well. I may need my tweezers because my hands are just too big. I have small hands, but sometimes they're still too big. Okay, what else is sticking up? There's one up here. I might suggest, if you don't want to have to do all this fiddly work, choose a wreath or whatever you're going to use that doesn't have a lot of tiny pieces, or just don't cut the tiny pieces out. I mean, you're fussy cutting, so you're in charge really of what you're cutting, I think. Okay, I need another skinny one for that. Is that all of them? Did I feel like I need to, whoops, I didn't get that off of there. I think that's good, and it's not impossible to go in afterwards and add support to the places that I didn't get yet. All right, I think I'm ready to turn it over. Let's see, we'll find out, won't we? All right, so I'm going to try to align it as best as I can, but I'm not worried about perfection. I just need close enough. You may have to come in and do some finagling with your wreath to make things work the way that you think they should. All right, now you really can't tell a whole lot, but there is some dimension there already. Now we're going to just assemble. So I have my pieces over here, and I've got them upside down so that as I pick them up, I know that that's the first layer. And I am going to go ahead and do the same thing as I did before with the glue squares, and I'm just going to stack. All right, so let's get this one lined up, and I do want this from now on to be pretty well aligned. So there's an ornament, there's the rose. Those 2 points should be enough for me to get it aligned. And you can already see the shadows that are being formed by the dimension that we're adding in there. So I'm going to go ahead and I am going to do the rest of these to a certain point, and then I'll be back. All right, so now we are to that certain point that I spoke of. And what I mean is, I know that I want to use glossy accents on the ornaments to make them shiny. And so I stopped at the level where I had no more ornaments cut out on my pieces. Actually, I didn't. I did that one and then realized that I needed to stop. So that one is ready for the next step, but it will have to wait. So I am just going to use my glossy accents on each of these ornaments to give it a little bit of shine and interest on the whole thing. So let's see how this goes. And again, I am not going for perfection. Matter of fact, I am not well versed with glossy accents. So we're just gonna see how this goes. I don't know how long it'll take it to dry either. So we'll find that out as well. All right, so I've got that on there. I don't know if it's too thick or too thin. Had a couple of places where I ran over, but I didn't intend to, but they'll be covered up. Like this down here, the next layer, that poinsettia will cover up where that ran over just a little bit. I think, let's see, I know that I want to go through with a sparkle pen on the next layer, but I think, and on the last layer, I am going to use some red geranium and marigold in the centers of the poinsettias. But for right now, I need to let that dry. So I'll be back when it's dry. The glossy accents are dry. So now on to the next step. I have this from scrapbook.com, and it is it's a sparkly brush marker, and I can't remember if it had I think that there was a name, but I don't remember. I got it as a freebie. Hold on, I've got my package right over here. All right, it's a glitter brush marker. There you go. Glitter brush marker from scrapbook.com. And this is my first time trying it out, and so I did test it right down here. All of the roses I am going to use this on, but I am going to pick one value of the rose to use this on. I'm not going to use it on, say, the lightest one and the darkest one and the medium one. I am just going to pick one value, one tone. I don't know what the proper word is. I think it's value though. And I am just going to use this in that one. I'm not going to choose the darkest, and I'm not going to choose the lightest. So that means I'm going to have the the middleist. Is that a word? And I'm going to try not to get my head in the shot. And it's going to be very subtle. I mean, if you see that, you can see a little sparkle, but it's not like in your face sparkle. And here I've got the two tones, and here is the tone that I'm going for. I think that there are actually 4 or 5 different shades of the red on these roses. I'm just trying to stick with the one. And I may make a mistake, but that's okay. Mistakes are okay. All right, so there is that. Now we can go on with the stacking. Since I already have this one all ready to go, I'll go ahead and pop it on. And I will go around with the next layer, and we'll see what is the next thing that we want to do. Okay, so I have all of my layers on, minus one that I somehow failed to put on there. And if I try to put it on now, I'm going to destroy it. So I'm just going to do something else with it. The next step, let's see, we have put on the layers, or we've inked, cut out, we've inked. We put on the layers. I have used glossy accents on the ornaments. I have used the scrapbook.com glitter brush marker in red on the roses. And now I have, this is scrapbook.com brush marker in clear. And I am going to go through and each of these little pine cones, I'm going to kind of go on the tips like snow and just give it that little, just a little bit of shimmer that's not even really gonna show by itself, but I think overall it'll just add a special detail to this piece. Okay, that wasn't like a huge thing, but just looking at it from here, it made such a big impact. All right, let's see. Next step is something that's going to take a little longer to dry. The glossy accents really didn't take that long to dry. I know this is going to take a little longer. And I have my liquid pearls. And what I'm going to do is the centers of each of these poinsettias, I am going to try. Let's see if I can get a better light over here for me. I don't know if you can see that or not, but that's my ring light and it really, really helps. So I am just going to make a circle, if I can. There we go. A somewhat circle. It's not going to be perfect circle. Again, every time I say this, or every time I do something, I'm saying it's not going to be perfect. Well, that's what makes it, I think, a little more special, is because if it was perfect, then I don't know. I don't feel like it would have that same sense of having taken the time to create something for yourself or for somebody else. And besides that, we're all human and we're not perfect. So don't expect perfection of yourself. Don't expect perfection of others, and I think that you will be a lot happier. There's your philosophical statement for today. I'm not really making circles, it's more like little arcs around each of the let's see, I think that this is called, I think these are the yeah, the floral part is the middle of the poinsettia. These are actually part of the leaves. I think they're called, oh my gosh, bracts or sepals or something like that. I'll look it up and I'll add it in here. Now, before I add the marigold, I am actually going to let that dry because I don't want to accidentally suck up any of the red geranium into my marigold. Ask me how I know that that could happen. So I'll be back when that's dry. All right, and now it is time for the marigold. And I am just going to go in each of these little semicircle-ish shapes that I made. and just give it a little dot. The yellow wasn't originally part of the print, but oops, that one was not quite dried. Thankfully I didn't suck it up, I just bumped it. So I'll have to be very careful with the others. And now we'll let those dry. All right, next step. I need to mount this on to here. And it is not quite exactly the right size, so I am going to cut off, well, I should probably measure this and make sure that I'm cutting off the right amount. Let's see, this is 12 by 12. I thought it was, but I wanted to make sure. And this is bigger than 12 that way, and is 12 that way. So I just need to cut off a ½ inch off of this end. So I'm going to pull out my big school style paper cutter that is under my desk, under this countertop here. I'm going to just cut off that ½ inch. I got my paper cutter for $5 on Facebook Marketplace. I think it was $5, pretty sure. And I love it. I just was so excited. Okay, so I am going to use my tacky, no, not tacky glue, 3-in-1 glue. And I don't know how much is left in this bottle. If it's enough for this, we will find out. I'm not worried about that there, because I'm just gonna be putting this over it. So I definitely want to make sure that my edges get glued tight. So I'm going to go all the way around the edges first, and then I'm just going to fill in the middle. I may be off screen here because I only have so much space, especially when I'm working with big 12 by 12 projects and I've got two parts of the 12 by 12 side by side. I think that should be plenty. I'm going to pick this up. Everything on here is dry now, or at least mostly dry. I think maybe the marigold dots could use a little more drying time, but I'm not going to be bothering them right now. I just want to get this mounted on the backer board. Alright, can you see all that dimension there? When I turn it, can you see the different layers? I really like it. I think it turned out really well. So one more thing before I say that this part is complete. I was looking at it and I noticed these little bundles of string, 3 little bundles, and I thought, I have string just like that upstairs in my mailing area. So I measured about how wide the bow would be approximately, and it ends up being about the same as these 2 fingers. And so I wrapped it around my fingers 5 times and then repeated that 2 more times with the same color, and then did the same thing 3 times with the second color. And it's just this baker's twine that I get at Dollar Tree. Then I cut a not as long piece because I need to attach this to the board somehow. I took my crocodile and punched holes in the centers of each of those pieces. You could take an awl or something just pointy because it's mostly going to be covered up anyway. It doesn't have to be a perfect little circle. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take and rewrap this around my fingers with both colors together. And I'm going to take it off, and I'm actually going to use this piece to tie a knot around the middle. I don't know how well you can see this on the camera. I'm just taking that around. There's the bundle, and here's the string that I've got, and I'm just going to tie an overhand knot. And I'm going to pull it tight. And then I'm going to feed these two ends of what I used to knot the bundle through the hole. Now I'm probably going to have to get my pointy little tweezers to pull that through. And these are the tweezers I'm going to use. See how narrow those are? I think that that will be the best tool for the job. I'm going to come up behind and through that hole just a little bit. I can't come up very far because the hole itself will cause my tweezers to close and then they won't work very well. And it doesn't help if I keep pulling the tweezers out of the hole. All right, so there's part of it. And it may take a couple of reaching up through the times of reaching up through the hole to pull down the string, okay? But it will eventually go. I'm sorry, I have a bit of a stuffy nose today. How your nose is stuffy and runny at the same time, I will never understand. It seems like you can't have one and the other at the same time, but you know. All right, so that is through, and now I am going to take, and I've already fluffed it out. I'm going to take this back here, and I'm just going to tape that down. It would have helped had I brought my tape over. I'm just going to tape that down right there. And I think that that'll be enough because I know that I'll be gluing something else to the back of this. And I do like the extra touch that gives. So I'm going to go ahead and do that with the other two holes. And that one wasn't quite even, so I can actually pull it through, or I should be able to just pull on the end to get it more centered. There we go. Pulling that gives you just a little bit more leverage than trying to just scoot the threads. There we go. Go with that to be that direction, like that. Turn it over and tape it. And then one more time. I think that string's just a little long. And I think I want that one to be turned kind of that way. And I'll fluff those up, and I really actually think that's cute. I like that little addition. So there we go. And then on to the next part. But I'm not done. I still need to do the second part of this. But I'm going to go ahead and get this part posted. And this will just be part 1 of my wreath. Thank you for joining me. And as always, be kind.